सो हेलो गाइस, वेलकम टू द माय चैनल। और ये स्टोरी के लिए बहुत लोगों ने कहा कि हिंदी में एक्सप्लेनेशन लाओ, लेकिन मैं इतना कैपेबल नहीं हूँ कि मैं एक अच्छी सी एक्सप्लेनेशन ला सकूँ आपके लिए। तो बस ये ओरिजिनल एक्सप्लेनेशन आप इंजॉय करो और बताओ कि कैसे है कैसे नहीं। और हाँ, मुझे इंग्लिश सुनने में अच्छा लगता है, बोलने में नहीं, क्योंकि मेरी इंग्लिश बहुत ही ख़राब है। सो ज़्यादा वेस्ट नहीं करते हैं आपका टाइम और स्टोरी को स्टार्ट करते हैं।
Madhu couldn't stand Bree's behavior. The night was hard on Bree as well. She again took the help of alcohol and slept that night. Betty told the behavior of Bree to her mother Nancy. A week passed, Bree didn't go to the university and always stayed inside her room. Nancy, her mother, called Madhu to check what went wrong with Bree in the college. She knew that Madhu was the only trusted girl in her friends group who doesn't lie. Madhu was worried about Bree throughout the week. It was painful for her to handle Bree's negligence and not seeing her in those days. She ate less and was not active in classes. She didn't feel like speaking to anyone. However, she managed to lie to her family in calls. As the days passed, she thought why she was thinking so much about Bree. She never had any such close friends in all those years. All she had was her brother Charan, with whom she shared everything. After thinking over and over again, she decided that she should concentrate on her studies. Semester exams were approaching within few days. Anyhow, she came away from her home and her beloved family to study there, not to make friends. But somewhere deep in her heart, something was going on about Bree, which she didn't wish to combat. It was a Sunday morning. She woke up late and got fresh. In the meanwhile, her phone rang. She was surprised to see it was Bree's mother on the phone. She answered the call. "Hello, Madhu. How are you?" Nancy asked her. "I am fine, Mrs. Miller," Madhu replied. "You must be surprised to see my call." "Well, I called you to talk about Bree," Nancy said. Yes, tell me," Madhu said with pauses, thinking about Bree. "Well, I spoke to her professor and he said she was fine at the university, which I don't think so, as she isn't going to the university. It is odd to ask you about Bree, but you are the only friend she's been close these days. Is it everything fine with Bree in the university? She is behaving a little different lately. I know she's sensitive and gets disappointed for small things, but she never stopped eating, sleeping, or talking to Betty. So I feel something is bothering her. I'm sorry to trouble you, but if you could help me with anything in this matter, it would be great." Nancy asked for genuine help from her. Although Nancy married twice and she knew Bree never loved her second family and they also didn't care for her, but as a mother, Nancy always took care of Bree's needs and wished her happiness. Madhu didn't understand what to reply. She thought of telling her the truth of Bree's changed behavior with her as well, but she felt it would sound like a complaint. Her inner voice said there must be something genuinely bothering Bree. She was lost in her thoughts and there was a silence for a long time. "Madhu, are you there?" Nancy asked to wake her up from her thoughts. Yes, Mrs. Miller, I was processing. I don't know what went wrong with her exactly. I was also thinking about the same. If you don't mind, can I come and meet her today?" Madhu asked her as she wanted to talk to Bree desperately about her changed behavior. "Sure, you don't need to ask. You are always welcome. I will send Charlie to pick you up," Nancy said. "It is all right, I can manage," Madhu said, as she didn't wish to bother them for her travel. But Nancy insisted. After an hour, Charlie came to Madhu's apartment and picked her up. Nancy wasn't there in the home when Madhu came. Betty welcomed her. It was cold. Madhu took off the jacket in the warmth of the house heater. Betty offered her to drink hot chocolate, but Madhu insisted she will meet Brianna first. None of the other family members were present at home. Madhu raced the steps towards Bree's room. Before entering the room, she took a long breath and knocked the door. "I don't want anything, Aunt Betty," Bree uttered from inside. She was listening to the music on her headset, lying on the seater next to the long window. Madhu sighed and opened the door. I told you I don't. Seeing Madhu on the door, Bree paused in surprise. She took off her headset and got up from her seat. Hi, Madhu greeted her hesitantly, waving her hand. Her heartbeats increased seeing Brianna. She felt a tickle in her stomach and her blood flow was fast all over her body. Brianna was wearing blue and white pajama and a sweatshirt. Her face was pale, yet she looked attractive as always. She was surprised to see Madhu, as Nancy or Betty didn't inform her about Madhu's arrival. Madhu was wearing an off-white color long-sleeve t-shirt and a brown trouser. Covered her neck with a scarf, she looked elegant in her attire. They both looked at each other. Hi, Bree greeted her after a long gaze at her. Hi, can I come in? Madhu asked, standing on the door. Sure, why do you need permission for everything? Bree said with a fake smile, remembering the park incident where Madhu asked permission to sit. Madhu smiled and walked inside. Bree asked her to sit and she sat on the seater, asking Bree as well to sit beside her. It was something awkward for both of them. Something was going on in their minds and hearts with the closeness of each other, which Bree understood. But Madhu wasn't able to find out the depth and the meaning of those strange feelings. There was silence for a while. To kill that silence, Bree asked the reason for her sudden arrival, and Madhu told her about Nancy's call and explained why she was there. So you are here because my mother called you? Bree asked in sarcasm. No, Bree, why do you think like that? Saying, Madhu kept her hand on Bree's hand to convey her honesty. But with her touch, Madhu felt the tickle in her stomach and suddenly she took off her hand. Bree observed that, and as expected, Bree also felt the same. After the pause, Madhu continued. Why are you behaving like this with me? And why are you hurting yourself? I heard that you are drinking alcohol again and not eating properly, and locked yourself in the room all these days. Can you please tell me what is wrong with you? Have I or anyone said or did anything wrong to you? I am stressed with your behavior of this avoiding, and I never felt like this before for anybody. And whatever is happening is really strange. And I don't want you to be like this with me. Madhu paused in a distressed mood. Bree felt like holding her tightly in her arms and never let her go by kissing her. But she controlled her emotions and looked down. And she made up her mind and sighed. I am sorry, she said. Sorry? After ignoring me for almost a week, you are saying sorry? Can you please tell me what was all that? Madhu asked, looking at her. I don't know. I really don't know. I am getting these odd feelings nowadays. I can't tell this to anybody, nor able to get rid of them. I am taking the help of alcohol, but with that, those feelings are getting stronger. Bree paused, holding her head in her palms. What feelings? Madhu asked. I said I can't tell. It is very hard, Bree said. There was a pause. Madhu hesitantly kept her hand on Bree's lap to comfort her. Bree looked at her hand and Madhu and sighed, looking at another side. With her touch, she was getting tempted to hold her. You can tell me anything. I told you many times before. I never had a friend like you before. God knows why everyone saw me as a geek and nobody was this close to me. After my brother, you are the only person I am this close to. And honestly, I don't want to lose you. Your ignorance is hurting me a lot. Madhu was uttering at her with tears filled in her eyes. And Bree couldn't resist, and she held her face and kissed her on the lips instantly. Madhu didn't understand what was happening, and unknowingly, she surrendered herself to Bree by closing her eyes. Kiss lasted for a minute, and Bree slowly released Madhu. Madhu didn't lift her face to make eye contact with Bree. This is the reason for everything, Bree said softly. Meanwhile, Betty walked inside the room by knocking the door and they both got separated. Betty asked Bree and Madhu to have lunch at the dining room, as Nancy was also waiting to meet Madhu at lunch. Without any words, Madhu went to the dining room as per the request of Betty, and Bree followed Madhu. Nancy was waiting for Madhu and she welcomed her heartily on the dining table when she saw Bree out of her room along with her. Madhu was still shivering, remembering what happened a few minutes ago in Bree's room. She pulled a chair smiling at Nancy and sat on it, greeting her back. Bree sat on the opposite chair silently, staring at Madhu. In the meantime, Nancy's stepson and elder stepdaughter Dom and Elizabeth walked inside. They all had lunch together. When Nancy was away for attending a call, Lizzie or Elizabeth taunted Bree on her coming out of the room after a long time, which Madhu didn't like, but she was speechless after Bree's surprise in the room. After the lunch, Madhu asked everyone's permission to take a leave from there. She said bye to Nancy without looking at Bree. Even Bree felt it all odd due to her sudden action. Nancy asked Charlie to drop her and Bree insisted that she will also go with Charlie to drop her. Nancy felt happy that Madhu did the miracle in just a few minutes, which they all couldn't do from days. Madhu felt awkward as Bree was coming with her. Throughout the way, they didn't speak. Madhu was on one corner of the seat and Bree was on the other corner. Bree wanted to talk to her but couldn't gather guts to talk to her, as Charlie could hear their conversation. Bree typed something in her mobile, which Madhu noticed. Within a fraction of seconds, Madhu's mobile beeped, and it was Bree's message. "I need to explain about what happened." "Not now, Bree," Madhu typed. Bree read that and looked at her and sighed. "Okay, but one thing for sure, I don't want to lose you." Followed by innocent face emoji, Bree typed. Madhu read her message but didn't reply. Bree and Charlie dropped Madhu till her building. Madhu didn't invite Bree into her home and Bree also didn't insist. They left after dropping her near the gate. Madhu opened the door of her house and she was still shivering. It was not due to cold outside, but with the glimpse in her mind about whatever happened in Bree's house. She never experienced kissing before, and she kissed her best friend Brianna, a girl. She never felt anyone attractive. She never had the feeling of love. It was all happening to her for the first time in her life. She didn't know what to do about that and whom to talk. She didn't dare to talk to Bree. She spent an hour walking here and there or turning pages of books and reading them, working on laptop as the first semester exams were starting from the very next day. But she couldn't concentrate on studies. Anyhow, it wasn't the reason for worry to her as she prepared herself for the exams in advance. After a while, she searched on the net and took many surveys about what happened by typing her feelings, and for her surprise, she found out that she might be a lesbian. Madhu's heartbeats increased after seeing that result. She was still not sure what was going on with her mind and heart. Bree was tensed once again, and as usual, after coming back home, she opened the bottle of wine and took a sip from the bottle itself. She didn't wish to lose Madhu at any cost. She was waiting for her call or text. Next day onwards, semester exams were starting. She thought of reading something so that she could divert her mind from Madhu, but she couldn't. Next day in college, when Madhu came into the class, Bree was sitting on her seat waiting for her. Bree moved aside and gave a seat to Madhu. Since the exams were about to begin, Madhu sat alongside Bree, and that brought a smile of relief on the face of Bree. But both of them were nervous with each other's closeness. There was no conversation between them. After the exams, Madhu left early when Bree was busy talking to other friends. Although Madhu was avoiding talking about the incident, her mind continuously played the scene in her memory like a beautiful music. She felt shy a couple of times thinking about Bree, but also felt odd for the entire situation. Bree kept on thinking about Madhu. Her thoughts never stopped coming in her mind. Kissing Madhu was a wonderful feeling for her. Though she kissed her boyfriends and had relationships, but she never felt that happiness before. Throughout the exam period, Madhu didn't talk to Bree, and Bree kept on staring at her with the hope to have conversation. Every gaze of Bree increased heartbeats of Madhu, but she wasn't ready to talk to Bree. She rarely interacted with her other friends. Bree sent her texts, but Madhu always sent messages like, "Not now, we will talk about it after the exams," etc. Bree gave her the space which she asked for. Soon the exams got finished and Thanksgiving was ready to arrive. That also bring holidays. Bree didn't wish to stay apart from Madhu for those days without talking to her. On the last day of exam, Bree was walking towards Madhu. In the meanwhile, Bree's old friends took her to discuss on her party, which her family throws every year on Thanksgiving. Taking the chance, Madhu walked out of the college as she was nervous to face or talk to Bree. On the next day, Bree's family had arranged a lavish party at home. Bree invited everyone in her friends for the party, including Madhu. Nancy personally called Madhu for the party, as she was very much impressed with Madhu's persona, which brought all the good changes in her daughter. Madhu also shared a good bond with Nancy, so she couldn't refuse the party. Party night, Nancy sent Charlie to pick up Madhu from her apartment. Bree was eagerly waiting for Madhu at the entrance gate. When Madhu got down from the car, Bree couldn't take off her eyes from Madhu. She was wearing beautiful red and white party dress, tied her long hair according to the dress, and was wearing dazzling makeup, which she rarely put on her face. Bree felt like she got ready only for her. Bree had also invited Neil and other Indian friends of Madhu, but all of them were getting ready to visit India after the exams, so they didn't make it for the party. Madhu had already booked her visit to India in the coming month for her third brother's wedding. Madhu saw Bree on the entrance and they both smiled at each other. Bree was wearing stunning party wear in dazzling peacock blue color and did all the makeup to impress Madhu on that night. After a long gaze at Bree with a smile, Madhu couldn't make an eye contact, and unknowingly she blushed. That brought a smile of relief to Bree. They both walked inside the party, and Madhu got nervous looking at so many people in the party. She never attended such parties before, although she also belonged to a rich family, but her family attended only grand weddings and traditional get-togethers. This was something different, with turkey and hundreds of varieties of non-vegetarian food decorated on the large, long table. Alcohol was served on the other side. People were dancing with loud music, and all age group rich people were gathered in that big hall, filled with a bunch of people dancing, eating and drinking. Madhu gulped her saliva looking at the crowd. Bree observed her nervousness and she held her hand to comfort her. With the touch of her hand, Madhu got astounded and looked at her. Bree slowly blinked her eyes with a smile which gestured, "Don't worry, I'm here with you." Madhu took a breath of relief and they both walked inside, holding hands. Nancy welcomed Madhu and asked her to be comfortable in the party and instructed Bree and Betty to take care of Madhu's needs. Bree promised her mother, looking at Madhu. "Don't worry, Mom, I will always be there for Madhu," she said. Hearing that, Madhu blushed. Nancy got busy attending the business guests. Bree introduced Madhu to her close friends and family who never met Madhu before. After meeting and having some dance, Madhu relaxed on the couch. Bree went to bring something to drink for her. Bree was sober that night. Many of her friends and close ones asked her to have wine, but Bree didn't go with them and stayed back with Madhu. Her beauty and closeness gave Bree more intoxication than a wine. Seeing Madhu alone, Bree's brother Dom came and sat beside her, offering a glass of wine. Madhu didn't take the glass, saying, "Sorry, I don't drink." "What? Being a friend of Bree, you don't drink? Didn't your friend train you? She is an expert at finishing bottles just in minutes," he taunted. "This is Thanksgiving party, right? I thank you for offering me wine." but I prefer choose which Bree is bringing for me. Madhu answered with a satire which Tom didn't like and he walked away. Madhu knew that those step siblings of Bree taunted her all the time, so Madhu never liked them, who hurt her close friend and might be now more than a friend.